Pokemon games have always been filled with characters and NPCs that can give you random gift Pokemon, and today I'm going to go through every single one of those, so sit back, relax, and let's get started. We're going to start in Generation 1 with, of course, the Magikarp Salesman. Now, this guy can be found on Route 4 at the Pokemon Center, and he will give you, well, I say give you, but he will actually sell you a Magikarp that's level 5 for 500 Pokédollars. It's obviously a scam, but if you do keep this Magikarp, you could eventually evolve it into a Gyarados and have a very strong Pokemon on your hands. However, at the moment of you doing this, it is literally a scam. Like, he's ripping you off and lying to you. Bulbasaur. Now, this is given to you by an unnamed trainer in Cerulean City. This is only in Pokemon Yellow version, and this only happens if Pikachu's friendship is at a high enough level for you. Otherwise, it is very easily missable and you may not be able to get it. Another starter is also going to be Charmander, which is given to you by an unnamed trainer on Route 24. This is also only in Yellow version, and it's a pretty straightforward one that you can just get right off the bat. Squirtle is the final starter that you can get, and this is from Officer Jenny in Vermilion City. This is in Yellow version as well, and this is after obtaining the Thunder Badge, and then you can get your hands on a free Squirtle gift Pokemon. Heading over to Celadon Mansion onto the rooftop, here you can find yourself an Eevee at level 25, and it's located in an item ball in the table inside of the roof room. Going inside, you'll be able to find it and add it to your squad. And like I said, level 25, plus you have the evolutionary stones here, it is perfect. Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan. This is from the Karate Master at the Fighting Dojo. Either Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan can be chosen, and either of them is going to be level 30. And this is after defeating the master of the, more specifically the Fighting Dojo, the Karate Master. Now, once you actually defeat him, you get a choice between Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan, and once you make your decision, you're stuck with that. Next up is Lapras from the Silphco employee at the Silphco 7th floor. This thing is level 15, and it's received after defeating Blue at Silphco. This is actually one of the easiest ones to get. It's pretty straightforward. It's really right in your path, so if you don't get it, it's kind of, why wouldn't you? Next up is going to be the fossils. Well, first up, you got Omanite, which is the Helix fossil. You got Kabuto, the Dom fossil, and as well as Aerodactyl, the Old Amber. Now, the thing is, to actually receive them, you have to take these fossils to the Cinnabar scientists or the Cinnabar lab scientists. Going over to Cinnabar lab on Cinnabar Island, you can actually turn these into real Pokemon and they'll be level 30. However, to get these actual fossils, well, it differs. The fossils can be found after defeating the Super Nerd at the end of the Mount Moon, where basically you get a choice between the Helix fossil or the Dome fossil. However, to get the Old Amber, it's received from a Pewter Museum of Science scientist, and it requires you to use Cut to reach the back of the museum. So this one is a little bit more rare. A little less people will actually go for this one, but it is the last one you get in Generation 1. It's like the last Pokemon you can go for that is a gifted Pokemon for you, but it's definitely a cool one, and not a lot of people would go and get that Old Amber for the Aerodactyl. Moving over to Generation 2, we've got the Togepi egg, which is given to you by Elm's Aid. Now, this is in Violet City's Pokemon Center, and it's going to be level 5 after hatching. And this is basically really only possible after you get the Zephyr badge, and once you also learn the true identity of the mysterious egg. So it's pretty straightforward. Then we have the Odd Egg. Now, this is a bit of a weird one, but basically this is exclusive to Pokemon Crystal. This is a very specific one that I didn't even really know much about, but it's a specific gift egg the player receives in Pokemon Crystal, and the Pokemon that hatches into a higher than usual chance of being shiny. So yes, this is a higher chance of being shiny. It's given to you by the Daycare Man on Route 34, and it will be level 5 after hatching. Now, interestingly, this is one of those weird things where you can get one of many Pokemon. It can either be a Pichu, a Cleffa, an Igglybuff, a Tyrogue, a Smoochum, Elekid, or a Magby. And it's an event exclusive in the Japanese version, and it's available during normal gameplay in the Western versions of the Pokemon games. But yes, it's one of 7 baby Pokemon inside of the Odd Egg, which also has an increased chance of being a shiny that knows Dizzy Punch. It is a crazy little thing. A lot of people didn't really pay attention to this, but it is there. Next up is the basic Pokemon. It is Sparrow. It's a Sparrow actually nicknamed Kenya, and it's given to you by Randy on Route 35 at the South Gate. This Pokemon will be level 10, and it's intended to be given to a man on Route 31 in exchange for TM50 Nightmare. So it's a little bit random, but still a gift Pokemon. Eevee, this is given to you by Bill in Bill's house in Goldenrod City. It is going to be a level 20 Eevee, and after meeting Bill in Ecruteak City's Pokemon Center, this will activate for you. Shuckle. Now, this is a Shuckle that's simply nicknamed Shuckle, and it's given to you by Mania at Cyanwood City. It's level 15, and she intends for you to actually return it to her, which you can just decide to not ever do, but it is pretty funny nonetheless. Then we have Dratini that's given to you by the Master at the Dragon's Den. It's going to be level 15, but interestingly, this is a crystal-only exclusive. This wasn't possible in gold or silver, and this specific Dratini will know the move Extreme Speed, which at the time, if you had yourself a Dragonite eventually, that is pretty good. Now, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and you get it if you answer all the questions correctly. Finally, for Gen 2, we have Tyrogue, which is given to you by Kaio at Mount Mortar's bottom first floor. It's a level 10 Tyrogue, and it's basically proof of defeating the Karate King, Kyo himself, so it's pretty straightforward. Moving over to Generation 3, the amount of actual gift Pokemon you could receive did somewhat decrease. Like, we were having way less of these actually possible, but nonetheless, there are still a few. First up is going to be the Why Not egg that's given to you by an unnamed expert at Lava Ridge. It's going to be level 5 after hatching. But yes, it's a free Why Not egg, but yeah, still cool though. Then we have the Lileep Root Fossil or the Anorith Claw Fossil. And this is something you have to go to the Devon Corporation to deal with one of the scientists. Basically, the fossils can be found on Route 111 in Ruby and Sapphire, or the Mirage Tower if you're playing Pokemon Emerald, and you get a choice between the Root Fossil or the Claw Fossil. Now, the fossil is not picked, the fossil actually that doesn't get picked, does actually reappear in the Desert Underpass after entering the Hall of Fame in Emerald version. So yeah, you can either get Lileep or Anorith, depending on it. You gotta just talk to the Devon Corporation for them to revive it. Castform, one of the classic Gen 3 Pokemon you can get your hands on from specifically the Weather Institute scientist. This is after defeating Team Aqua or Team Magma, depending on which, and this specific Castform will be holding Mystic Water, and it's gonna be level 25. And of course, probably the most famous one to be given to you is gonna be Beldum from Steven. Now, Steven can specifically give this to you in his house in Moss Deep City. It's a level 5 one, and you only get it after entering the Hall of Fame, and it's on his table, so you can just pick it up because it's meant for you. The final specific gifted Pokemon that you can get in Pokemon, well, specifically Emerald and Generation 3, is gonna be the starters from Gen 2. Yes, so Chikorita, Cyndaquil, or Totodile. These are all given to you by Professor Birch in Little Root Town. They're all level 5, and this is, again, like I said, an Emerald-only exclusive. It's basically the reward for completing the Hoenn Pokedex, and you get a choice between Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. Now, I should quickly mention that there is basically the same exact things like I mentioned for Gen 1 in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. You have the Magikarp Salesman again, and he will again sell it to you for 500, but you also do have Omanite, Kabuto, and Aerodactyl still being possible to get by doing the exact same things as before. Eevee still available on the rooftop of Celadon Mansion. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan are still at the Fighting Dojo, where now you battle Koichi instead, and you gotta just defeat him and then choose one of them. Lapras is still given at the Silphco building after defeating Blue at Silphco, and the Togepi egg is now given to you by an unnamed gentleman at the Water Labyrinth, and it's gonna be level 5. It's gifted if the first Pokemon in the party has high enough friendship, and if you show this to the gentleman after hatching to obtain information about Daisy Oak. So it's a little bit random, but yes, you can get yourself a Togepi egg, which is the difference between that and, like, you know, the original Gen 1 games. Since we're on the topic of Pokemon games, we might as well also do Pokemon Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. See, in Pokemon Colosseum, you can get a free Plusle. It's received from Duking, and it is in the location of Pyrite Town. It's level 13, and it's a reward for rescuing Plusle and lists Duking as its original trainer when it's obtained. In XD Gale of Darkness, you can actually get 3 different sorts of options, right? So first of all, you got Shadow Togepi. This is given to you by Hordell at the location which is Outskirts Stand. It's level 25 plus, and after purification can be traded for an Elekid, which is a bit random. But you also have Chikorita, Cyndaquil, or Totodile that are given to you by Batless, and this is at Mount Battle. They're level 5, and they're a reward for conquering Mount Battle, 1 per completion and only 1 each. So you can get all of these starters, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile, all of them, for every time you complete the challenge here, or you complete the Mount Battle, you know, actual battles there. So you get 1 of them each if you do it 3 times. Moving over to Generation 4, we have ourselves an interesting set of Pokemon. We've got ourselves none else than, of course, the Togepi egg from Cynthia. Now, you may have noticed there's a lot of Togepi eggs being given out, but this is at Eterna City. It's level 1, and this is only in Platinum version, and it's after defeating Jupiter. And if you do that, you get your hands on a free Togepi egg. You can also get a free Eevee that is given to you by Bebe in Hearthome City. In Diamond and Pearl, this specific Eevee will be only level 5. However, in Platinum version, it will actually be level 20. And in Diamond and Pearl, it's obtained after you get the National Pokedex, whereas in Pokemon Platinum can be received immediately in the game, so you don't have to wait until you finish the Pokedex to actually get your hands on a level 20 Eevee. Next is the Happiny Egg. This is given to you by an unnamed hiker. He's also at Hearthome City at the West Gate. It's only level 1 though, and it's a Diamond and Pearl exclusive. Porygon is the next one, and this is given to you by an unnamed Pokefan at Veilstone City. It's level 25, and it's a Platinum only exclusive, so this one isn't available in the other two games. And then, of course, the probably most famous one is the Riolu Egg that's given to you by Riley on the Iron Island. It's level only 1, and it's received as a thanks for clearing Team Galactic off of the island itself, and this is in all 3 games. Then we have Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now, like I said, some of the stuff is going to be carried over, like some actual gifted Pokemon will be carried over, but let's go through the list nonetheless though. Starting things off, we have Mareep Egg, Wooper Egg, or a Slugma Egg. These are given to you by Primo at Violet City's Pokemon Center, and you get 1 after hatching. They're obtained after submitting the correct password to Primo, which is a kind of a special password you have to do, and he will actually reward you with an egg of either one of these guys. So it's pretty awesome. Once again, the Togepi Egg is given to you by Elm's Aid at the Violet City Pokemon. Same thing as before, obtained after the Zephyr Bad, the true identity of the Mystery Egg, and knows the egg move Extrasensory, and that's what makes this different, like this Togepi a bit different from the original Gold, Silver, Crystal ones. There's still Sparrow named Kenya from Webster, Route 35 Southgate, level 20, intended to go to a man on Route 31 in exchange again for TM, in this case 44 Rest. Eevee is still received from Bill as before, but you can also now get a Tentacle. This is from an unnamed NPC at Signwood City's Pokemon Center. It's going to be level 15 and given if the player has only 1 Pokemon in their party and none in their PC boxes, which is actually really interesting. So can be repeated indefinitely, by the way. You can do this indefinitely. Now, why do they do this? Well, you see, the reason this tentacle exists is to stop you from soft locking. If you in some way manage to get rid of all your Pokemon, the game will essentially allow this tentacle to exist as a way for you to still receive a Pokemon to be able to leave the island or leave Cyanwood City. Like, it's a specific thing they coded into the game and added into the game to make sure you wouldn't soft lock yourself in this location. Then again, we have Shuckle, but this time around is given to you by Kirk in Cyanwood City. It's level 20, and again, it's intended to be returned. The Dratini from the Master at the Dragon Den is still the same, with extreme speed, which is awesome. And once again, Tyrogue is given to you by Kyo at Mount Mortar's bottom first floor, and it's a proof of defeating the Karate King Kyo. But something special about Heart Gold and Soul Silver that wasn't in Gold, Silver, and Crystal is gotta be Professor Oak. See, Professor Oak gives you a Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle. You get this by going to Professor Oak's laboratory. They'll all be level 5, depending on which one you choose. Reward for basically defeating Red, and then you get a choice between Bulbasaur, Charmander, and or Squirtle. Next up is Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip. These are all possible to be given to you by Steven Stone. Yes, the Steven Stone you guys all know and love. He is going to give this to you at Silphco, and this is basically a reward for defeating Trainer Red, and also after acquiring Kanto's first partner Pokemon, so you got to make sure you talk to Professor Oak first. And then you get a choice between Trico, Torchic, or Mudkip, which are all Gen 3 Pokemon, which is a great little homage. Moving over to Generation 5, we've got an interesting set of actual gift Pokemon and just rare little traits. First up is going to be an unnamed girl that can give you a Pansage, Pansear, or Panpour. This is in the Dream Yard, and they're all level 10, and only 1 can be actually received. You will receive Pansage if the player actually chose a Tepig, a Pansear if you chose Oshawott, or a Panpour if you chose to go for Snivy as your starter. There's another unnamed girl. This case, she is found at Game Freak's headquarters on the first floor over in Castelia City. She will also hand you a Zorua that is level 10, which will join the player if you talk to a girl with a Faithful Encounter Celebi in your party. So yes, you literally have to have a Faithful Encounter Celebi, which is very rare, and I don't really know how many people have that right now in their inventory. I don't know how many people are running around with that, but guess what? If you have one, you can get this very rare Zorua. Tortuga, Cover Fossil, and Archon, Plume Fossil. This is from an unnamed backpacker at the Relic Castle. They're level 25 and offered by the backpacker in the Relic Castle. You guys basically just get a choice between the Cover Fossil or the Plume Fossil, so pretty straightforward. Then there is the Larvesta egg. I love Larvesta, and this is given to you by an unnamed Pokemon Ranger at Route 18's Rest House. You only get one, and then it just hatches into a level 1 Larvesta. Next, we have just a massive amount of options, right? So basically, you can get an Omanite, a Kabuto, Aerodactyl, Lileep, Anorith, Cranidos, or Shieldon. Yes, these are given to you by an unnamed worker at the Twist Mountain. They're all going to be level 25, and they're offered by a worker, and you get one random fossil per day. So you're going to have to go to the game basically 7 times more or less until you get all of them, because there's a pretty solid amount of them, right? Like there's basically 7 of them to go through. So it will take you a bit of time to get them all, but eventually you'll have them. And making his comeback for like the 4th time at this point is the Magikarp Salesman. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, found at the Marvelous Bridge, an homage and just, call back to Generation 1, you can find the Magikarp Salesman. This man sells you a Magikarp for exactly 500 Pokédollars, just like the previous guy did. However, this specific Magikarp does have guaranteed perfect speed IVs. So it has perfect individual values, which is just, in my opinion, perfect. At least you get something valuable out of it in that case. Moving over to Black and White 2, we have the following set of Pokemon. First up is Enz Zorua. This is given you by Rude over on Driftveil City, and it's level 25. It's a reward from Rude for defeating him, and the nature of this one is hasty. So yes, this is exclusive to Black and White 2. Next up, though, is Deerling from the Institute Researcher at Route 6 at the Weather Institute. It gives you a level 31. It has its hidden ability, which is Serene Grace. EVE, this is given to you by Amanita in Castelia City. It's level 10 and is given after entering the Hall of Fame. And it also has another hidden ability, and it's Anticipation. Now, unlike the unnamed worker in the Twist Mountain with the root fossils and whatnot and the different fossils, instead in Pokemon Black and White, you go to the antique shop, specifically at Join Avenue, where you can get your hands on all of the fossils. Yes, that includes Omanite, Kabuto, Aerodactyl, Lileep, Anorith, Cranidos, Shieldon, Tortuga, as well as Archon. And this is all after entering the Hall of Fame and can be found in rocks that are sold by the Antique Shop Avenue. Must be ranked 15 or higher for you to actually access it. As usual, the Magikarp man can be found on the bridge just like in regular Black and White, but that's not all though. We also have a Happiny egg from an unnamed Pokemon breeder at Nakreen City at the West Gate. It's level 1 after hatching. Now, you thought we were done with the fossils? No. So Tortuga and Archon can be actually received early on by Lenora, and this is in Nakreen City's museum. They're level 25 and offered by Lenora in the Nakreen Museum. You gotta choose between the Cover Fossil or the Plume Fossil. And the unnamed worker with the other fossils can still be found in Twist Mountain. So yes, you can get multiple of these each. But the coolest, the genuinely coolest thing you can get in Pokemon White and Black 2 is actually a either shiny Dratini that if you're playing Pokemon White 2 version, and this is from Benga, who is in Flosessi Town, and it's a level 1, and it is shiny. Yes, a shiny Dratini. But again, if you want to get shiny Dratini, it's in Pokemon White 2 version only, and this is after defeating Benga at the White Tree Hollow, and it also holds an EXP share. But however, for Black 2 version, there is something a bit different, and it's the shiny Gibble. Yes, a different dragon type that's also from Benga in Flosessi Town, and this is Black 2 only. Again, this is after defeating Benga at the Black Tower, and this one also holds an EXP share. Moving over to Generation 6, we start things off with the most obvious one, which is the free Kanto starter from Professor Sycamore. This is in Lumio City, and they're all level 10. These are given after beating Professor Sycamore in a battle, and you get a choice between Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle, and you will also be given a Mega Stone for that specific Pokemon's final evolution as well, so you can get a Mega, Mega Venusaur, Mega Blastoise, Mega Charizard, whichever one you want. Speaking of which, one of the fossil lab assistants will actually be found in the Glittering Cave, and he'll give you a Tyrant or Amura specifically fossil. These are given after beating Team Flare in the Glittering Cave, and you get a choice between the Sail fossil or the Jaw fossil, which is pretty cool. We got Lucario from Corinna. This is at the Tower of Mastery. It is level 32, by the way, and you get to decide to join the player after demonstrating the Mega Ring. So basically, if you show the Mega Ring to her, to like Corinna and to the Lucario, you receive a Lucario. The IVs are actually pretty solid, and the nature is hasty, and it also holds the Lucario Knight, which allows it to Mega Evolve. Lapras is the final Gen 6 one, or at least X and Y one, and this is from an unnamed Pokemon breeder on Route 12. It is level 30, and the IV spread on it is pretty clean. Next up, we move over to Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Now, we kind of have a lot of similarities from previous Pokemon, like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, games, but there is a few differences. First of all is the first one, which is the Pikachu Rockstar and Pikachu Popstar. These are given to you by an unnamed Pokemon breeder, literally in any contest hall. They're all level 20, and to receive them, it's actually after competing in a Pokemon contest if the player is a male, and you receive the other one. So specifically, if you're playing as a male character, if you're playing as Brendan, you will get the Pikachu Rockstar. But if you're playing as a female and do a contest, you'll instead receive a Pikachu Popstar if you're playing on that end. So it's a pretty cool one. Lava Ridge Town still has the Why Not egg from the unnamed expert lady. So that's still there, and it's basically obtained with an egg cycle value of 70. Then you also have Cast Form from the Weather Institute as per usual. Nothing too crazy from that. We also have Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile from Professor Birch once again on Route 101, and they are all level 5. This is again after entering the Hall of Fame and meeting Zinnia. You get a choice between Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and of course Totodile. Then again, there's also the Togepi egg, which you can get your hands on from an unnamed expert, also in Lava Ridge Town. It's level 1 after hatching, and again, it's after defeating and catching Groudon and Kyogre, and obtained with an egg cycle value of 70. So yes, this is after beating Groudon and Kyogre, which is pretty neat. You thought we were done? Nope, we still also have more. You can get even more starter Pokemon from Professor Birch. So this is basically Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott. These are all Gen 5 Pokemon on Route 101, and they are all level 5 once you receive them. And this is after completing the Delta episode. This is kind of like the little extra, part of specifically, what kind of the post-game story of Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. You get a choice between Snivy, Tepig, or Oshawott, so all the Gen 5 starters, which is an expansion upon what we had before. Steven Stone is back with his free Beldum. This time around, it's again in Moss Deep City. It's level 1, and this after completing the Delta episode, and it holds the Iron Plate, so it is a little bit different from how you receive it in the previous games. But guess what? There is even more starter Pokemon from Professor Birch. Yes, this actually is kind of crazy, but Professor Birch will also give you a Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. I'm not kidding. Yes, he gives you even more stuff, and this is after entering the Hall of Fame for the second time. So yes, if you defeat the games like, Elite Four a second time around, you will also receive a Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup as an option to choose from. It is pretty crazy. Next, we head to the Battle Resort. So first up, if you go there, you can find a Team Magma Grunt who will give you a Camerupt. It's going to be level 40, and it's going to be holding a Pasho Berry. However, if you're playing the other end here, and you find the Team Aqua Grunt, they'll give you a Sharpedo at the Battle Resort, which is also level 40, and this one holds a Wakan Berry instead, which is pretty neat. That pretty much solidifies Gen 6, but Gen 7 has a few more things up its sleeve. Starting things off, we have an Eevee egg given to you by an unnamed breeder in Panola Ranch. This is a level 1 after hatching, as per usual. Since specifically, Gen 7 didn't really have any of its own fossils, instead you can get your hands on Cranidos, Shieldon, Tortuga, and Archon from fossils that are given to you by an unnamed woman. This is at Olivia's store in Kinokuni City, and specifically these are level 15 after being revived. They are the Cover and Skull only available in Pokemon Sun, and Plume and Armor fossils only available in Pokemon Moon version. So yeah, it's in Konikoni City, right? I said Koniki City, which is kind of weird, but nonetheless, that's what you can get your hands on. But it doesn't end there. You can also get an Aerodactyl, which is separate from an Ace Trainer in Seafolk Village, and this one is level 40 when received, which is pretty good. Porygon is also given out by an unnamed Ether Foundation employee at the Ether House. This thing is level 30, and it's only received after you enter into the Hall of Fame. Type Null, of course, is given to you by Gladion at the Ether Paradise. It's level 40, and it's also after entering the Hall of Fame. Gladion will also give you, the player, all 17 of Savali's memories, so that's pretty neat as well. And then, of course, we can't forget about Cosmog, which is what you get your hands on from Solgaleo and Lunala at the Lake of the Sun or the Lake of the Moon. And this is after entering the Hall of Fame and requires a Solgaleo Lunala in your party. So yes, you can just get a free extra Cosmog, which, fair enough. Moving over to Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, there are a few differences. Now, first of all, you do have the Eevee egg again given to you by the Pokemon breeder at Panola Ranch, which is again level 1. However, the lady in Konikoni City, who's in Olivia's store, who gives you the fossils, now has an expanded array of fossils. So you actually have Omanite, Kabuto, Lileep, Anorith, Cranidos, Shieldon, Tortuga, Archon, Tyrant, Amura. Those are all available now. Before, we only had like half of them, but now we have more of them. However, in this case, for Pokemon Ultra Sun, you have the Cover, Skull, Helix, Claw, and Jaw fossils only available in Ultra Sun. And on the other hand, for Ultra Moon, you have the Plume, Armor, Dome, Root, and Sail fossils only available in Ultra Moon. An interesting character is Samson Oak, a relative of course, Professor Oak. Now, he actually can give you a lot of different Pokemon, and it's pretty crazy. So, he can give you a bunch of totem-sized Pokemon, like Gumshoes, Raticate, Marowak, specifically Alolan Marowak, Araquanid, Lurantis, Salazzle, Vikavolt, Togedemaru, Mimikyu, Ribombee, and Kommo-o. These are all available for him at Heya Beach. Now, here's how you actually get them. So, the first two, that being Gumshoes and Raticate, you've got to collect at least 20 totem stickers, and when you get this Gumshoes, it's going to have the ability Adaptability. Specifically, that's its hidden one. But also, if you want to get Raticate, well, you got to collect 20 totem stickers as well, but this is for Ultra Moon version, so they are exclusive. Yes, Ultra Sun gets Gumshoes, Ultra Moon gets Raticate. However, moving on from that, then you got Marowak and Araquanid. Marowak is specifically for Ultra Sun, and this requires you to collect at least 40 totem stickers, and you get the Alolan form of it, and it also has the hidden ability Rock Head. However, Araquanid is the exclusive for Ultra Moon, and this one just, requires you to get 40 totem stickers. However, moving on from that, we have Lurantis and Salazzle. Lurantis being for Ultra Sun and requires to get 50 totem stickers, and Salazzle being Ultra Moon exclusive and also requires 50. After that, we got Vikavolt and Togedemaru, with Vikavolt being exclusive to specifically Ultra Sun, requiring 70 stickers to be given, and also Togedemaru being exclusive to Ultra Moon. These are also level 35 when you get them. However, there is one Pokemon specifically that's available in both games that is Mimikyu's totem-sized form. This one just requires a total of 80 totem stickers. And then finally, we have Ribombee and Kommo-o. Ribombee being for Ultra Sun, and it requires specifically you to have 100 totem stickers. It is level 50 when you receive it, and Kommo-o is for Ultra Moon, on the other hand, which also requires 100 totem stickers. There's a lot here from just this one guy. Once again, the unnamed Ace Trainer in Seafog Village does give you an Aerodactyl that's level 40. Pikachu is given to you. So, boss of Surf Association, that here branches of the Surf Association Beach. Basically, this is a Pikachu that knows Surf and holds a gold bottle cap. It's obtained by becoming the number one by achieving the higher scores on all the 4 Mantine Surf courses. So yes, it's a little mini game you gotta do, and you get your hands on this, and it is level 40 when received. Then, of course, we have Poipole. So, Poipole, interestingly, is given to you after defeating Ultra Necrozma. It is level 40, and you get it at the Megalo Tower in the Ultra Megalopolis, or whatever you want to call it. However, it actually differs on who gives it to you. See, in Ultra Sun, Solera gives it to you, but in Ultra Moon, Dulce gives it to you instead. Then we have Type Null. Now, instead of you being given it by Gladion, in this case, it's Thick Vic. She actually gives it to you instead, and it's actually near the exit to Pony Groove, where specifically it's only available during the post-game. Vic will also give the player all the 17 of Silvali's memories as well, so you'll be having that, and it's at the Ancient Pony Path, like I said. It's level 60 when received, which is pretty solid. Cosmog, once again, is given to you if you have Solgaleo Lunala, depending on Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon, at the Lake of Sunny or Lake of Moony. Again, it's after entering the Hall of Fame and requires a Solgaleo Lunala in your party, and the player also receives the Lunalium Z and Solgallium Z, which is specifically, I guess, in this case, for you to do your Z moves. But yeah, it's pretty solid. You also get Zygarde's 10% form. This is from Dexio at Route 16, and it's level 63 when received, and this is actually after catching the 50% form Zygarde in Resolution Cave. You're actually then given the 10% form, which is pretty neat. Of course, we can't forget about the Porygon by the unnamed Ether Foundation employee at the Ether House. It's level 30, and again, this one is given after completing episode RR, so Rainbow Rocket episode is what needs to be completed for you to receive the Ether Foundation's free Porygon. Pikachu and Eevee is generally pretty straightforward. You guys already know we've got the standard Magikarp given to you, or, well, sold to you by the man. You also have the super nerd Miguel, who basically offers you the Helix or Dome Fossil, depending on if you defeat him. You also have, of course, Bulbasaur, which can be given in Cerulean City after the player has caught 30 or more Pokemon. It's given. Charmander at Route 24, which is after the player has caught 50 or more Pokemon. You also have Persian now, which is given by an unnamed Black Belt. So this is Let's Go Pikachu only version, and it's a gift for showing him 5 Growliths, which is pretty solid. However, if you talk to an unnamed Beauty in Vermilion City, she will instead give you an Arcanine if you have Let's Go Eevee version, and it's only a gift that will be given this way, and it's only if you showed her 5 Meowths. So you got to basically get 5 different Meowths, and this is basically the comparison. In Let's Go Pikachu, you get Persian. In Let's Go Eevee, you get Arcanine. I'm gonna be honest, Arcanine's kind of cooler. But nonetheless, you also get Squirtle, which is offered to the player after catching 60 or more Pokemon, and it's from Officer Jenny, as like before. Aerodactyl, again, requires the Old Amber, so this is just, you know, you just gotta get your hands on Chop Down is required, and then go to the Pewter Museum of Science. On the other hand, Koichi at the Fighting Dojo still has a Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan given to you after defeating him, and Lapras can be found at the Silphco building. However, there's also a Porygon at Saffron City, and it's level 34, and is given after defeating Giovanni at Silphco. So there is a Porygon extra gift there. Moving on to Sword and Shield, we've got ourselves something interesting. Starting things off, we have a Pikachu and Eevee being given out by an unnamed boy at the meetup spot. Now, this thing is level 10, and if the player has Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu as a save file on their Switch, you can get this, and it can Gigantamax, but it cannot evolve. Now, if the player has Pokemon Let's Go Eevee on their save Switch, basically, you can get a Eevee instead, and it can Gigantamax, but again, it cannot evolve, though. You can also get a free Toxel. This is from a random Pokemon breeder on Route 5's Pokemon Nursery. It is level 1 once received, and it's housed inside of a luxury ball. You can also be given a, well, guess fossil Pokemon by Keralis. Now, this is on Route 6, and they're all level 10. It's Dracozolt, Arctozolt, Dracovish, and Arctovish. And basically, here's what you got. The results of combining a fossilized bird and fossilized Drake will give you the Dracozolt. The results of combining a fossilized bird and fossilized Dano will give you Arctozolt. The results of combining a fossilized fish and fossilized Drake will give you Dracovish. And the results of combining a fossilized fish and fossilized Dano will give you Arctovish. Leon will give you a free Pokemon. Yes, he'll give you a Charmander. This is in Leon's room in Postwick, and it's level 5. It's after becoming the champion. This one can Gigantamax after evolving into Charizard as well. Now, we've spoken about Type Null before, but guess what? An actually unnamed League staff member at the Battle Tower will give you a level 50 Type Null. She also will give the player all 17 of Silvali's memories as well. Moving over to the Isle of Armor, the first person that actually gives you something, and again, this is just DLC, but it's crazy how many more things you have here, is actually going to be Honey. Honey is at the Master Dojo, and she will give you a Bulbasaur or Squirtle, which is supposed to be kind of a callback, I guess, of sorts to how Leon gave you a Charmander, but you were never even offered to have any of the other starters from, you know, Kanto and Gen 1. Like, you weren't even given an option for those, which is kind of lame, but it's cool that they decided to bring it back here and actually be like, hey, you know what? You got Bulbasaur and Squirtle. Now, to actually get them, you got to do this after completing Mustard's first trial. You get a choice between Bulbasaur or Squirtle, and each of them does have the Gigantamax factor. Cubfu is also given to you by Mustard at the Master Dojo. It's level 10, and it's after completing Mustard's third trial. Speaking of the Master Dojo, Hyde here will also give you a Porygon. That's after defeating Mustard at the Battle Court, and it has the hidden ability, specifically Analytic, and it's level 25 when received. Next, we have the Diglett Trainer in the Fields of Honor. Now, this fella gives you a lot of different Pokemon. You have options for a lot of different things. So you got Meowth, Slowpoke, Alolan Vulpix, Alolan Sandshrew, Alolan Raichu, Alolan Marowak, Alolan Exeggutor, Rowlet, Litten, Popplio, and finally a Diglett. Now, to get all of these, you got to do a few specific things, right? To get the Meowth, you need to find at least 5 of the Hycrus Alolan Diglets, the Alolan forms, around the actual, you know, you got to basically go around and find the Alolan Diglets around the map, right? And once you do this, you get a Meowth with Rattled as its hidden ability. If you find 10 of them, you'll get Slowpoke, and this is specifically, again, going to be the Cantonian version. It has the ability Regenerator, and it's holding a King's Rock. If you find essentially 20 of the Hycrus Alolan Diglets, you'll get an Alolan form Vulpix with Snow Warning. If you then get yourself another 30 of those, or just in general 30 of the Hycrus Alolan Diglets, you'll get a Sandshrew, that's Alolan, and also has Slush Rush as its hidden ability. Finding 40 of the Hycrus Alolan Diglets, you will get the Alolan Raichu. Finding 50, you'll get Alolan Marowak with hidden ability Rockhead. Finding 75 will give you the Alolan Exeggutor with Harvest. And then finally, if you get 100, you get basically, essentially, one Pokemon that is a starter that matches to the starter you chose. So basically, if you chose Grookey, you will get Rowlet. If you chose Scorbunny, you'll get Litten. And if you chose Sobble, you'll get Popplio. It basically matches to the typing of the starter, and you'll get a Gen 7 starter matching with it. Then finally at 151, so yes, matching the number of Pokemon from Gen 1, 151 Pokemon, you will get, or rather Diglets, you will get a Diglett as well. And a Alolan Diglett with Sand Force as its hidden ability and has 31 IVs in every single stat. In the Crown Tundra, there was actually only 2 things you could get, which is kind of crazy compared to what we had in, the Isle of Armor here. But what you have is the following. You got Cosmog, which is given to you by an elderly woman in Freezington. It's level 5, and it's after defeating Glastrier or Spectrier in the story. And Poipole is given to you by the Dynamax Adventure Attendant. This is one of the workers that's there. Inside of the Max Lair, you can go in. This thing is level 20 when received. To get it, though, you got to catch at least 5 Ultra Beasts inside of the Dynamax Adventures after unlocking the They Came From the Ultra Beyond adventure in the game, which is pretty neat. Moving over to Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Well, of course, we're going to start off with the easiest one, which is Bebe giving you an EV in Heart Home City after obtaining the National Pokedex. Then going over to Floaroma Town, here you can get yourself a level 1 Mew. Yes, a Mew, but I should point out, though, for you to get the Mew, you need to have a Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee save data on your actual console to be able to do this. You'll also find an unnamed gentleman in this exact same town, and he will give you a Jirachi in Floaroma Town. Yes, a Jirachi, which will be level 5, but to get this one, you need to have the save data of Sword and Shield on your console. Over at Hearthhome's West Gate in the city, you'll find an unnamed hiker, and he will again give you a Happiny egg. And of course, Riley will give you a Riolu egg on the Iron Island, and again, this is the same thanks for defeating Team Galactic. Next up, we got Pokemon Legends Arceus, and in this case, we got ourselves the following, which is Vulpix. There's not really a lot. You've got Kiaka basically giving this to you at Whiteout Valley. It's level 40, and it's received as a thanks for finding all 5 of Kiaka's Vulpix during the request, which is Snow White Vulpix in the Snow, which is specifically a little side quest mission you got to do. Then, of course, we have Arceus that is gifted to you by Arceus, which is kind of crazy. But yes, because Arceus in this case serves as a little bit of an NPC, but this is after defeating Arceus. It gifts you a piece of itself to the player, right? It's given to you by Arceus, which is kind of crazy in the Moving over to Gen 9, we have ourselves a interesting start. So first of all, you've got a free Galarian Meowth from Salvatore. This is either in Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, doesn't really matter which one you go for, but it is given to you, and it is level 5. This is after completing all the Salvatore's classes and storyline, you'll be given one of these fellas. Moving over to the Teal Mask, because there isn't really much in Scarlet and Violet in terms of this kind of stuff. There really aren't a lot of gift Pokemon that are given to you or traded to you necessarily, but there is a bit more in the Teal Mask. Starting things off with Jacques. So this man will be found at Reveler's Road, and he will give you 1 random egg. And this egg can either contain a Turtwig, Chimchar, or a Piplup. So yeah, it's a free egg with one of the Gen 4 starters, which is kind of neat. Out of Masui Town, Perrin can be found, and she will give you her Growlithe. It is specifically a Hisuian Growlithe, and it will be level 15, and this after completing the Blood Moon Beast storyline. Then there's also the Shiny Munchlax, which in my opinion is the coolest one. Now, Shiny Munchlax specifically is really interesting. It's given to you in Kitakami Hall. It's level 1, but it's only after clearing the Ogre Ousting minigame on the hardest difficulty. Then you will be actually given it.